Stamped from the Beginning is a documentary directed by Roger Ross Williams. It's currently available on Netflix, and I don't know if they're submitting it for the Oscar, but maybe they should, you know. Um, and I'm obviously the right critic to talk about this film. This is exactly what they envisioned. When they made this film was, man, I really hope people who look like him have have thoughts to get on YouTube. I'm a blind film critic, so I'm here mainly because this film has audio description, um, to talk about that and how well the audio description navigates the film. Um, yes, I do this a lot, right? I am fully aware that I'm a white film critic, and yeah, I don't know if the people who made this film really care what I have to say. So we're gonna chug on into this review. Um, Stand from the Beginning is a documentary about race. It just is. It's a documentary about Black people, the exploration of being taken from Africa and turned into slaves, and the continual dehumanization of them as a people by continuously associating blackness with all things evil and darkness with crime and a lot of really insightful, educated arguments that I'm not going to be able to really fully succinctly speak here because I don't have degrees in anthropology or African American studies. So that's what this film is for. You should watch it. um, yeah, like most films of this ilk, you will gain something from this. That's true of actually most documentaries. It's rare that I find a documentary where I feel like you will gain something or this documentary will actually make you more stupid. Um, that's not the case here. This is a really solid documentary. It has a nice runtime to it. It has a nice flow. Um, if I were to put my movie critic hat on for 1 second and be like, "Hello, black film. Let me as a white person give you thoughts." Um, I would say the only thing that caught me at all was just narratively. It felt like we were setting it up to move forward through time, like we were going to go back and we were going to start at a certain place and work forward, and then we started working forward, and then we got to a certain point and we were like, wait a minute, well, let's go back because women had a different experience also throughout this time. And it didn't bother me too much, but it did kind of break the narrative tone of how the film was moving. And then it just became sort of about, these are the points we're trying to make. These are the ideas and the themes and the concepts, which is fine. But I did notice the sort of shift in structure. I thought it was just going to be working our way through history, which is how it felt going through that time. But then we had to make a really great argument, by the way. I'm not saying the content is not amazing. I don't know really what the answer is because I don't know what this film would have looked like had they tried to weave that section in, and sort of counterbalance it as we're talking about it. Maybe this is exactly the way they needed to. So maybe the answer came before that, instead of trying to make it seem like we're going to go narratively forward through time. Instead, trying to just present ideas and talk about them in thoughts and talk about important people through history who we may or may not have ever heard of. So I think that's really great. They use I don't know if this can be nominated for documentary. That's why I question it. It's not because I don't I feel like Netflix would submit this if they could. There's a heavy use of actors to portray roles, so it becomes sort of like History Channel does this a lot too, though, and their stuff is considered to be docu stuff, right? So, um, but they do cast people to read off these people who, you know, died off in like the 1700s, 1800s. So, and to read their poetry and to uh, read their thoughts on stuff and make the arguments as if they were these people. So, and it uses sort of animation at times, which is interesting. So it becomes sort of like a mixed art form, amalgamation of uh, yeah, you know, you've got your talking heads coming through and giving you ideas. You've got a blend of people playing historical figures while also using animation. So sometimes they're just voicing an animated figure. Uh, it's really got a lot of great ideas sort of woven together. It's amazing how uh, many different things they're using, and it still comes together in such a cohesive unit by the end of the film. I was never bored. I was never like, oh, I've heard this before. I mean, yeah, we maybe, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to hear things a second time, or ask yourself, why do I keep hearing this? So I think that's probably the main point here is, you know, we keep talking about the same thing for a reason. Listen this time. There's another great documentary this year called Lakota Nation versus United States, which I also felt was very personal and came from a very specific perspective of a race that I'm also not a part of, and broke down and explained a lot of things in ways that made it really easy to understand. I kind of, you know, I mentioned at the top that I'm a white film critic and that this is not for me, but at the same time, I'm really not sure this is for Black people. Like, I feel like there's that term preaching to the choir, and I don't know who's clicking on this. You know, I think they're trying to get people like me who are willing to watch a documentary like this and hear the words that are being said and expanding our thoughts and uh, answering the questions of, you know, what is it that we can do, what is it that we should do, and how do we do it. So I think it's a terrific documentary. The only problem is that, unlike documentaries made by indigenous people of the United States, there are a number of films that are very similar to Stamped. They'll tackle kind of different angles, maybe like 13, David DuVernay's 13th, or I Am Not Your Negro. They come at it from slightly different narrative perspectives, but there are a number of documentaries that Stamped has to try to stand out from. So, even to some extent, Attica, which was nominated for an Oscar documentary a couple of years ago, has deals strongly with race at many times. So, there's a lot more content out there, which really should say something to people who look like me. Why are there so many documents? Like, because it's a problem, you know. If instead of all of the documentaries about Black people, we replaced them with documentaries about how the water was dirty, I think after a while people would start worrying about the water being dirty. But you know, there are maybe only like a couple of those, and we don't. People aren't really kind of catching on to them, and they're not seeing them, and they're like, well, I don't know, but if there were as many documentaries about how the water is poisoning us in certain parts, I think people might care a little bit more about the water. It's funny how we can make this amount of documentaries about the strife of Black people and just falls on deaf ears. So um, we're just gonna keep making more until we get through. Um, Audio description here by the team at International Digital Center is really good. It does an excellent job of really bringing forth the imagery that is in the film, from letting you know when the segments are animated, for example. Even basic things like letting you know when there's a white character being shown or a Black character being shown on screen, who's speaking. They do have people like Angela Davis here to speak to us and to talk about race and the experience. So it navigates it really well. I didn't feel like I was being left out of anything. A lot of times, navigating documentaries with this many talking heads, which this film does bounce around quite a bit with a lot of talking heads, but like I said, it's a blend of so many different mediums in terms of documentary and style. So it's not just a talking head documentary, but it does have a lot of people coming through and giving their thoughts and opinions. And I never felt like I was like, who is this person and why are they talking? Which is, there's so many other talking head documentaries that it's really hard to even get a name in there, or they don't try. And my argument is always, if I don't know, then I don't care. You got to at least get it in there sometime, even if people don't shut up, even if they're like me and they just keep talking. Somehow you just have to interrupt me. I have to find something that I'm saying that's not important, wait for me to go, and then throw in my name. Because if we don't know why somebody is talking, we don't know why to care why somebody is talking. So it's kind of interesting, because like if I found out it was like Angela Davis, right, who's a great civil rights activist and leader, and then there's just some guy that follows her and he's like, yeah, well, we we don't really like that kind of stuff over here. I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? I'd be like, what is he doing? What's, you know, just following her. I'd be like, who is this guy? I'd be like, we got Angela Davis, we got this guy. I'm like, who is this guy? It would be driving me insane. Luckily, that doesn't happen here. So, great work for International Digital Center. I don't know why I picked a random Southern accent, but yeah. Anyway, that you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. I thought this is a great documentary. It's one of the best of the year. Now I have to try to pick out. Do I want the one, which is my favorite? The one that is made by the Native Americans, trying to let us know, hey, this is what's up, or the one that's made by Black people saying, hey, what's up? So picking my best documentary of the year is going to be really hard, because I like both of these documentaries and they both did really well, and both of these really honestly could be shown in classrooms and would just, I mean, like, it's a lesson. Just sit down and be like, this is it. Watch it. just breathe it in, take it. So many people won't, though, and that's the problem. So I loved it, though. I'm gonna give Stamped from the beginning an A. I liked it. So it does kind of have a little bit of a problem with standing out, but that doesn't mean that it won't be good. We have a lot of things that are sort of in the same realm, and they compete against each other, but they can all be good. We can have 15 films about dragons being trained. They can all be good from different people, from different mindsets and different approaches. It just means, but standing out, though, at the end of the day, somebody's gonna, they're not gonna run down a list. They're not gonna sit down with somebody and be like, what film are we watching tonight? Oh, well, I've got a list of 37 films that you need to hear about. No, they're gonna probably just pick one. They're gonna say, have you seen this? And then go from there. So That's just how we work in life. Whatever comes to mind first. Will this film be that for anybody? I don't know, but we'll see. I'm a little concerned that it has a 6.3 on IMDb, which is kind of an unfair rating and has a much higher Metacritic score, so critics respect this more than surprising. Surprise. Of course they do on IMDb. I'm sure it's being downvoted by trolls. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you made it this far, please click subscribe. I like to talk about films that have audio description and try to get that out there in the medium. While these people are advocating for their race, I'm advocating for accessibility for what I need and what people like me need. So, that's why I'm here with my sad count on YouTube, which you could inflate by clicking subscribe. You can also go to my website, macmovieguyy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what does have audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. They'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.